Hey, Hal here. Just wanted to tell you we're excited about our partnership with Minus 33. Minus 33 specializes in merino wool base layers for outdoor enthusiasts, from tops and bottoms to hats, socks, gloves, and our gear is going to keep you warm and comfortable no matter what adventure you're on, especially those big woods ones. We're a fifth-generation family, owned and operated, a New Hampshire woolen textile manufacturer. They have over 106 years of woolen expertise, and they started manufacturing woolen socks, the Mountain Heritage ones, in New Hampshire in 2018, with the idea that a quality product, affordable pricing, and can be worn and loved from season to season, no matter what your experience level or skill is, so no one should feel uncomfortable or ill-prepared in the outdoor community. Having a reliable gear is one of the first steps towards a lifetime of passion or whatever activity it is. And my caveat to that is you got to wear your woolies. Cotton is death.
This is the Big Woods Bucks podcast. Come explore the big woods and timber in North America with your host, Maine master guide and deer tracking expert Hal Blood. Listen to Hal and co-hosts Lee Libby and Joe Cruzy as they unlock the secrets of big woods whitetails. Each episode will provide valuable insights into the tried and true system Hal has used for the last 40 years to scout, locate, and hunt mature big woods bucks. Listen and laugh as the crew discusses Hal's legendary adventures and learn how to apply a lifetime's worth of lessons from the big woods to your own hunting and outdoor adventures.
Welcome to the Big Woods Bucks podcast. I'm your host, Hal Blood, and I'm sitting here at home in my man cave by the wood stove, and the rest of the boys are down there hunting in Massachusetts somewhere with their smoke poles. And Joe's there.
Hello.
Rick.
Yep.
Neil.
Yep.
Jeff, Glenn, some of the other guys. So they're going to be telling you some hunting stories, I guess. That's so funny.
Jeff's throwing a fit. He feels like he's always left out, and you forgot him. And yeah, I love it. He threw his headphones down. Hal, if you could see him now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess this podcast is going to be like what was that movie there? About the frat house there.
Oh, Animal House. Yeah.
Animal House.
Yeah, Animal House. Yeah.
That's exactly what.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it feels like down here with these young guys, Hal.
Jeff threw his muzzleloader off of the side of a cliff today, anyway. So.
Oh, he did.
So yeah, we got they got some fresh snow down here.
Yeah,
How
good
long
snow.
ago, Neil?
It was Sunday night going into Monday.
And it's really nice conditions.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it was all powdery, probably 8 inches.
Yeah, it's perfect tracking snow, really.
And today it warmed up just enough about halfway through the day so you could really tell the definition in the tracks and see what was fresh.
Yeah.
First day was killer. It was really windy. I like that.
It was this morning. It was windy this morning. It was perfect conditions there till about, noon? Then that wind kind of died down, I noticed. Yep.
Yeah, where I was, I didn't have much wind at the beginning of the day. It seemed like it kicked in a little bit in the middle, and then it kicked back up right before dark, too.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Find any good tracks?
We were seeing all kinds of deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably between all of us, we must have saw 40 or 50 deer today anyway.
How many did you see,
Holy
Neil?
smokes.
I saw 12.
Yeah. I think I saw 8 total. $3.
Yeah, I see $4.
Yes.
Yeah,
You guys are rubbing it in, ain't you?
that was kind of surprising that you saw 2 bulls today.
Yeah.
I would have never, because you and I were in the same area, and it just does not look. I don't know what they eat there.
They wander a lot down that country.
Any cuts in there where you were today, Jeff?
A lot of blowdowns, but they're all in those hummock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Come down here and go shed hunting.
I look around. I didn't see anything. I got pretty close to them. Didn't bother them too much.
Yeah. Moose ain't as skittish as the deer. The deer seem pretty skittish here.
Oh yeah, they are definitely skittish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been coming down here for probably 4 or 5 years now, and they take right off. I mean, you can get within maybe, if you're lucky, 100, 150 yards most of the time, and they're already going the other direction.
Yeah.
Must be the hunting pressure down there is a lot more, you know.
Yeah, wicked open hardwood ridges, Hal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see 300 yards in places.
I kind of thought because there's hiking trails and stuff around too, so they see people all the time, you know. So you would kind of think that they wouldn't be as skittish, but I mean, I'm 150, 200 yards out, you could see them all running. And I felt like for me, I had the wind at my back quite a bit starting out, just because it was the only direction I could really go. I bumped into one other person who I was trying to avoid and stay away from. It seemed like we kept crossing paths all day. Yeah, that's a bit frustrating. But
I think, you know, they have that shotgun season there. That's was before the muzzleloader, and I'm sure that gets hunted pretty hard with the shotguns.
Right. But I think that guy must have seen you in his binoculars, Joe, and he says, "Oh, that's that Joe Cruzy from Maine.
I'm sure that's
I'm
what
gonna
it was.
follow
Yeah.
him today."
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you did have a cool story about that guy, though.
Yeah. He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't see me, so I just kind of I waved one time. I thought he was kind of looking in my direction. I just kind of waved, and he was looking the other way and kept on going. So I said, "That's good enough for me. I'll just kind of go the other way and get away." And I pulled my binoculars up and watched him go over the hill, and he was decked right out in Big Woods gear. He had Big Woods fanny pack, and he had a Woodman's Arm muzzle loader in his hand, and he was off and going.
Joe says, "That's come out of my
Vermont.
warehouse."
Yeah, my basement.
Yeah.
That was, I believe he was from Vermont. There was a Vermont truck there parked there before I got there. So,
Oh yeah.
but beautiful country here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot
Really
of options
nice.
too. I mean, for hunting, you know, Massachusetts, there's a whole bunch of different, you know, ground to cover. And I mean, I don't know about, everyone else, but I know I only saw one other set of tracks other than Rick and I went to the same spot. Rick and I crossed our tracks a couple of times, but other than that, there was one set of old tracks up in the area. We went all day long. Did you see any other tracks, Rick?
Just that one set of old tracks, probably 2 days old.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for as much ground as there is, I
Yeah.
did almost 15 miles today and only see one other set of tracks.
You had a
that's
story
pretty
today,
good.
right?
I've probably had a couple stories from today. Yeah, doing almost 15 miles. I hope I encountered something. But unfortunately, Hal, I didn't get the job done today. I saw 4 bucks, and the fourth one, he was good enough to pull the trigger on, and that one I'd actually come into Rick's tracks, and he had told me that he was following a buck and a doe. And so I came up to where his track was, and there was another buck that had come right through Rick's tracks. And so I hopped on and started following that. I didn't know if it was a fresher version of the buck that Rick was following, so I messaged him. And he had said there was another buck that had peeled off away from those two. So I hopped on and started following that one. Went across the top of the mountain, came down, and then I actually, when I got to the bottom finally, there was 5 does that took off. I mean, I wasn't, same thing as everyone was saying. I didn't even get close to them. They were, 150 yards off. You see these little specks that look like, they look like little foxes running off because they're so far away, and pull up and look, and they all had bald heads on them. So I made my way down to the bottom, and I'm, just kind of moseying along, and then all of a sudden I actually started to hear the road down below. Every once in a while a vehicle would go by. So I pulled out my phone and looked at OnX just to see how far away I was from houses or the road and what was coming up in front of me. And then all of a sudden I happen to see a buck. He just starts taking off probably 50 yards away. Nice rack on him, and pull up, sight down the first opening. And he comes into the opening, and as soon as I'm touching off the trigger, I said, there's probably some stuff in the way. But I already committed to the shot. And so then I see him for another 3-4 jumps after that, because, of course, the muzzleloader, you only get one shot. And I'm sitting there saying, that has a pretty nice rack on its head. Yeah, it's a pretty nice buck. But walked up, and unfortunately, it's like I didn't end up hitting him. I think I must have hit a branch because there was some stuff in the way.
Yeah. Can't get him if you don't shoot.
Yep.
I actually think, Neil, you know how, Hal, sometimes when you're on, I had 2 bucks chasing that doe. She was definitely in heat. Of course, it's the 15th, which puts us perfect for the second rut, And you know how sometimes those big bucks will peel off the doe when you jump them. They know somebody's after them. They'll just leave the doe. So I kind of think that's what happened, Neil, is that bigger buck peeled off, and that smaller one that I end up catching up with, he was an 8-pointer, but he was a young deer.
Yeah, that one, that I ended up seeing, he had a pretty good rack. It was one of those you didn't hesitate to shoot, but you could have walked up to it and it could have been something special. When I saw him from the back, of course, they always look bigger, as they're running away from you. But
because one of them had a real good track on him. He had pretty decent foot.
Yeah. For down here, it was a decent sized track.
That's the toughest difference. Toughest thing to do is the difference in tracks down here is just getting your expectations different and ones that you'd normally just walk right by and never even think about. You got to look at and be like, But I did see there were old tracks, a couple days old, but I did see a couple really nice tracks. Good ones that you'd follow up north too.
Yeah, I see one real good one today. Wasn't the one that was with that doe, but on the way back I see a real good one.
I actually, just before I ended up seeing that buck, I saw another track that it was one of those tracks you definitely want to follow. And it looked pretty fresh, but I didn't know how fresh it was. So I said, well, I know I'm right behind this other buck, so let me just try to catch up to him. I'd actually messaged you, Rick, and I'd actually said, just give me a few more minutes. I'll be on to him. And sure enough,
I said to him, I said, did you kill him yet? And he says, give me a few more minutes. I'm thinking, Jesus, he's on to him pretty hot.
And then, of course, shot fired, but
didn't connect.
Yeah.
You're pretty quiet over there, Honcho.
What'd you kill today?
I didn't kill anything. I didn't really see anything that I was interested in following. But I know one thing is that very, very difficult to. There's very few big bucks around. Anything 200 pounds, whatever. They're most of the stuff I was seeing like 170, 180.
Yeah.
If anything, the area that I was in, it was mostly does down in there. In the moose. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because Hal, you've hunted down here before. Have you found really many of those that you consider a 200-pound track, like you see up in Maine?
Hal, you there?
Maybe.
Well, all right. Hal's gone.
Lost Hal.
He's out.
But that is one thing though that around here, what Hal was saying about bucks together, you see a lot of bucks that have bachelored back up. Today when I came into one pocket, I was following a decent buck track, and it was coming down a hill, and all of a sudden I look probably 100 yards up, and I see a body there, and so I pull up and watch it in the scope for 5 minutes, and I didn't know what it had for a rack. I kept catching glimpses of tines, but it wasn't anything that I wanted to shoot. And I watched that for 5 minutes, and it kept putting its head down, picking its head up, and then finally, 2 in behind it started taking off, leaping. And I saw one of them; it was just a spike horn. I didn't see what the other one was, but that was probably that better track that I saw. But there were 3 bucks together.
Yeah,
I didn't see. I had nothing. The area that I was in, it was just mainly does.
Huh.
Of course, I had that one doe that come up. I thought it was, halfway decent buck track. Then it cut up behind me, and I followed it a little bit, and it acted like it was a buck. Probably younger, 170. Then I got up to the bed, and I must have bumped it out at one point. She was gone. Then I made a little a loop around. And I see where she squatted. You could clearly tell it was a doe.
Yep.
And she peed on the ground, and that's when I met your buddy up on the hill.
Russ. Yeah.
Russ. Yeah,
Run
he
into
started,
Russ.
I cut the corner up there, and she had come out on the top and started going back down. And I saw him. He came up to me. He said, "Hey, do you see that buck track?" I said, "Well, I think it's a doe track because I just bumped her up." He goes, "You sure?" I goes, "Yeah, it was a doe." Then I see her after I went down there, and I could see her. When I fall a little bit, I could see her on the ridge on the other side.
I'm surprised you didn't say, geez, it had a hell of a rack, but my knee just went out on me, so I don't want to follow him anymore.
Right.
But I haven't seen one buck track that we'd be willing to, follow, not one at all. Everything down on that bench was all does.
Yeah, I would say there was definitely bucks around where I was. I came across a couple of scrapes and stuff in the last, since the storm. And
yeah. I never see a scrape all day.
Yeah.
I didn't see one either.
No. I got onto that buck. I got, a good mile from the truck, and I was headed up that mountain. And I cut this buck track. He was headed north chasing a doe. You could tell he was dogging that doe pretty hard. So I looked at it, and I said, yeah, I'll take him. Maybe he'll lead me to something a little better. I know, he was 170 probably. I knew he weren't a monster, but like you said, you don't know what they got for headgear down here. So I followed him for a good 3 miles before he even slowed down from dogging that doe, and another buck ended up joining in. A couple of times there was a couple other bucks that actually tried to join in, and you could see where they looped around and probably, sized them up and fought them off or something.
Yeah, I saw a couple spots where bucks, they were all together feeding.
Yeah.
And then you see little clumps of hair and stuff where they probably started sparring a little bit or just, as you said, sizing each other up.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll do that when they want to go follow they all want to chase a doe. The more dominant ones will push them off, and they know better. So I got in up top there, and I got into this little hemlock grove, and there was a little bit of a bog there. I said, boy, this is a good spot to catch them. And they started actually walking for the first time. They started slowing down. And I come up over this little knoll, and they had run out that knoll and come back. So I said, well, I better make a loop on that, make sure it's the same deer. So I did. I just went out there about 75 yards, and you could see where they kind of chased her around a little bit, and then she went back through a back track. And I didn't go 50 yards down that back track. I actually sat down, ate a sandwich, and they were bedded right behind me. And I had grunted several times, and I would have thought they would have gotten up and come check it out, but they never did. But I didn't go very far. I jumped them right up. Wasn't really ready for it. So I jumped them up. They ran probably 1/4 of a mile. They got up into some hardwoods, and then they get into those whips, And they started walking again, and I come over a little bit of a knoll, and I jumped a doe. She was looking right at me, and she took off to my right, and she had her head right down ducked. You could tell she was running hard, and I thought, oh, man, I messed that up now. Probably the buck was standing right behind us, so I didn't really expect to see anything. I got down there, and this one deer, I think she was all by herself, and they just happened to come onto her, and they went right by, and she stayed there. So I said, well, they're still walking. They don't even know I'm behind them. So I stayed a little bit further, and I come up over this next knoll, and when I come over that knoll, there was a doe, really big doe, just down over about 100 yards, and she had her head down feeding, so I stood there a little while, and then that small 8-pointer come out. He was probably 150-pound, 160-pound deer, and he come out, and he was watching her, and I videoed him for a minute, and I thought maybe there was another one there with him because there had been 3 for a while together. And when they took off, that's when they split right there. And
yeah, because when I came back up onto your tracks there, there had been that buck and that doe. They had come through that spot probably, it looked like 2 or 3 different times. And then there was the buck that I ended up following. He had come through there.
Right, they looped around there a couple times. Yeah, yep. Right, there's a lot of tracks. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a real good spot right there. That's, right up there in that saddle between those mountain peaks. I've seen a lot of different tracks come through there.
I see a tree stand today that I took a picture of. I didn't know if it was yours.
No.
Was it a sling?
Yeah. No, it was one of them climbing stands.
I actually found today it was a big wooden, huge platform tripod thing.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Rick, I'm thinking if you did hunting bedtime stories, there might be a market for it. Your voice is so soothing when you're telling your stories.
You guys are all going to sleep on me.
Whispering
whispering
into the mic like he's on the hunt.
Well,
I always feel like I'm telling you, I'm serious. We could do ASMR with Rick Labby.
Be for children.
Yeah.
There's the stand I found.
I'm surprised you didn't climb up in it.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a stand hunter all day.
Yeah.
I'll have to look because, on top of that mountain, I do have a stand up there somewhere that I left a couple of years ago.
Guy had a birch log tied into it. You see that?
Oh, that's what that is, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm just showing these guys the picture.
Huh.
But something new. If you can't hit them, you take them and club them.
So, Jeff and Neil and Glenn, you guys haven't been on this season yet to talk about some of your hunts early in the season. How many deer you killed this year, Neil?
I've got 3 so far.
3 so far. Jeff, you got a couple, huh?
3, yeah.
Glenn?
I got a doe and a buck.
Nice.
Yep.
The freezers are full.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a heck of a season for the team.
So where'd you kill those deer, Neil?
I got one in New Hampshire with my bow to start things off back in early September. And then I ended up getting one in Maine. I tracked that one down. That was...
Yeah, that's a beauty.
Yeah, that was a nice buck. Yeah, that was the third week, I think it was. That was the 218-pounder that I got. And then one of my other goals was to go out to the Adirondacks for the first time this year, so I tracked a buck down out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Almost made it 4 today, but I got an idea by the time you leave here in a few days, you might.
I mean, hopefully. We got that snowstorm tomorrow, so who knows what's going to do with that with another 8 inches.
Yeah.
It's snowing right now. I'm looking out. So
It is, yeah.
you must have a pile of freezers at home.
Well, I mean, luckily with the buck I got in the Adirondacks, I mean, yeah, I have a pretty big freezer, but usually, 2 big bucks a year is what will kind of do me for the whole entire year for meat. So the one in the Adirondacks I gave to Brian Connor. It's like our video guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
So he could have the meat.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Jeff?
Brian, yes.
Got to pull it out of you, man. It's like,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to compete with these two, so just sit back and listen.
just
So you
be
got a lot of
yourself,
freezers?
Jeff.
What's that?
You must have a lot of freezers.
No, I got 1, 2, 3, I think. Yeah, something like that.
1 or 2 or 3. Yeah.
No, I had a pretty good year this year,
Yeah. You eat a lot of deer meat, you and Sue?
Yeah, we like the brats.
Yeah.
Used
Yeah.
to make our own brats. It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Nice.
And a lot of burger, sausage. Steaks are okay, but if you cook them properly. But I like all the other stuff. Sue likes all that, so.
Yeah.
Butch did some shaved steak for me.
Oh, he did?
For making subs and stuff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
shaved steak sandwiches. So I'm going to try that and instead of burger.
With deer meat?
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
So we'll give that a shot. And
Yeah.
You like the brats? You ever had brats?
Yep.
Yeah. That's
do.
my wife's favorite.
I don't know if you guys have ever tried this, but a buddy of mine once, Hank McPherson. You remember Hank, Joe?
That's who I bought my my
Yeah.
land off of. Yep.
Same here.
Yeah.
But he cut his deer meat, his tenderloin one year, like 3/4 of an inch thick. That was pretty good.
You think that's thick or thin? Because
I think that's thick.
I always go inch or more.
I like mine.
You do?
inch or
See,
more.
I've always
Yeah.
been 1/4 inch
Oh,
my whole life, and
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
key is, yeah.
you're right.
That's
Yeah.
when it's the best, when it's...
But that's what I do with my tenderloins now for like 20 years. Is 3/4 of an inch, and
Yeah, I told Butch an inch, and he was like, "Ooh, that's awful thick. You sure?" And I did some of the stuff 3/4 and some inch, but
slap it in a hot frying pan,
Yeah.
flip it over real quick.
Is that what Liz said?
it's always something with you.
I know, I got to crack a joke once in a while, for God's sakes.
Yeah, but it's better when people laugh at it.
Oh, I kind of giggle myself.
So continue on with your season.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was, as a matter of fact, that one buck that I was working on, I sent Neil a picture of him.
Yep.
There was 2 of them. They were pretty nice deer, but of course,
Yeah.
archery hunting that's my gig, so I say so a lot. Did you know that? It's like,
Yeah.
so.
You also, when you say anything,
Anything.
you leave the G off, and it's just anything.
Yeah, okay.
If we're gonna critique your speech pattern,
Yeah, that's that Polish thing.
Well, yeah, when we were at the restaurant last night, what was that we couldn't understand that you were saying?
I don't know.
what was that? That
Yeah, I'm
was-
trying to remember. We were both sitting there. It's like
He was speaking Polo.
Joe and I were like, "What'd you say?"
I wish I could remember the word
know,
now, but
it was
but
perfect.
it had both of us stymied.
Yeah.
It's out.
That means confused, Jeff.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Speaking of confused, go ahead
Yeah.
with your story.
So that archery buck was pretty funny because, of course, I only hunt a stand on the perfect wind. So I was working these deer, and I have 3 individual stands, so I can play the wind perfectly, and I won't sit in any stand unless that wind is perfect. So I got out there. If I'd sit in one stand, those bucks would go by the other stand. So I played that game for quite a while. Then one morning I got out there, and I just got in my stand. I usually get there about an hour before, and I'll kind of settle down. And all of a sudden I get a text message from Brian. He's in New York in his stand, and the sun goes up. he's got a picture of the sun coming up, and he says, "Oh, geez, I've been here an hour already." And we're kind of texting back and forth, and it was kind of funny. So I turn around, and just after I got my last text, I look over, and here comes a buck I've never seen before. He's kind of meandering through the thick fur, and he's kind of working his way over. So I was already locked and loaded, ready to go. He come down probably, I don't know, say 15 yards from me, and he's rubbing up, he's scraping that tree, like raking it just hard. So what I did is I have, you shoot Luminox, Neil? Or
I think the nocturnals, yep.
Yeah, that's right. So the problem with the nocturnals, if you don't set that back in the string, if you set it too far back, the nocturnal will go off.
Yep.
What I did is I didn't set it back far enough, so it was kind of half on my string. So when I drew back on the deer, my arrow popped out. It popped straight out, went boonk, and it landed right down straight in the ground. And that deer looked up. He's looking all around, had no idea what's going on.
You said it was a pretty intense encounter.
Oh, yeah. So he calmed down, and I'm just standing there waiting for him. So he started walking. At this time, he was probably, I don't know, maybe 12 yards. So I had to kind of turn sideways a little bit. And of course, my position was off, and my form wasn't right. So I drew back on him, and I shot, and lo and behold, I missed the damn thing. I shot right under him. He jumped up. He went 20 yards, and he stopped. He had no idea what happened, So he's behind his hemlock, and I'm going, oh. So I had to turn all the way around on my tree stand and catch it. So as soon as I could get a clear shot at him, and he just kind of had no idea what was going on. He's looking around, and I let him calm down, and I see the little tail flicker. When their tail flickers, that means they're all calmed down, so everything's good.
And then, so one question I have about the story. So do you hunt with a quiver on your bow?
No, I take my quiver off.
I was going to say, yeah, because I was hanging it in the tree. So I'm just picturing you, like, I didn't know if it was on your bow, if you're reaching, taking an arrow off, knocking another one, or if you're actually turning around, grabbing it off your quiver, it's on the tree.
Yeah, I take it off yeah.
So there's a lot going on.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot going on. When I practice both ways, but when I practice in the tree stand, I practice without my quiver on. So, but the thing with the archery is you got to have your form 100%. If you don't have your form,
you're going to be off.
You're going to be off.
Yep.
Sitting in a tree stand, shooting at live animals is totally different than shooting at targets out of a tree stand. So he had made that move to start walking. As soon as his tail flickered, that was my opportunity. So I drew back on him, and I let it go. And I don't know what happened. The only thing I think is I must have hit something. But when he went down, they say they call it jumping the string. But really what they do is they're trying to get all that power back out of their back legs, because that's
right
to get in the flight mode.
Yep.
So they actually go down and all that power so they can get back up and go.
So with that, because was his head down when you shot at him, that time when he jumped the string?
No, he was like semi-quartered away.
Well, because if the head is up on a deer, they don't have as much power and they can't dip as much. If their head's down or straight out, they can dip a lot more. Because the buck that I shot in early September, that one, I have it on video. You can see that buck. He drops a lot. I mean, you can see that arrow.
Yeah, they drop.
It's going right to the vitals, and I mean, it hit him high. Yeah. Because you can watch him just completely drop 10, 12 inches.
Oh, wow. Sure, yeah.
Yep.
So when he dropped down, he actually dropped down, and a lot of times they'll turn. So when he dropped down, that arrow struck him in the back hind quarter high and went up and just got into the low portion of the intestines and little vitals and stuff like that, and off he took. So I knew it wasn't the best shot, so I waited quite a while. I probably gave him over an hour, and when I got down, I would look for my arrow, and I went probably about 50 yards, I found half of my arrow.
Yeah.
Then after, my personal opinion, after 100 yards, it's a 50-50 shot if you're going to get that deer or not. I mean, your percentage goes down quite a bit. So I immediately pulled out. And the first time in my career that I actually called in a dog.
It's a great service
And
to have. It's
I
amazing.
I called
Yeah.
the kid up.
Yeah, yeah.
And his dog's name is Remy. It's a little black lab.
Yeah, yeah.
And what an amazing resource. I was totally blown away how well it works. So,
Very little blood, huh?
yeah, there's no blood.
Yeah, yeah.
And I only had half my...
Hey, Hal here. I want to talk a little bit about our partnership with OnX Hunt. I've been using it for a while now, and if anybody knows me, they know I'm not a very techie person, but the OnX app is it's a real time saver. I remember the days when we poured over topo maps everywhere we was going to go and stuff, and I don't do that quite as much anymore. Where it's really helped me is scouting, whether it's deer scouting, a moose, or even turkey hunting in the spring, which I do. It really helps out. I don't have to spend as much time running around the truck burning up the gas. I'm just basically using my OnX. Got it on my phone. Don't even carry a GPS anymore. So I just download the areas where I'm going to be hunting, whether it's up north moose hunting, and I use it mostly on the satellite imagery. I like to see the cuts and the clearings and the turkey hunting, the hidden fields and stuff. But everybody's using it now, from the game wardens to land surveyors, and just a great tool. And with our partnership with OnX, if you use a code BWB, you're going to receive 20% off on your first premium or elite memberships. And you just go to onxmaps.com/hunt. You'll be glad you did. Good luck on the trail.
Hey everyone, Hal here. Hey, we got another sponsor here we want to talk to you about, and it's another company looking for good employees, and it's a good opportunity if anybody wants to move west. It's a company that has lumber mills and stuff out in Wyoming, and so I guess the benefit of that would be there's like over 1 million acres of public land for hunting, fishing, doing all that stuff, and they got competitive wages, free health care and dental premiums to employees and their families, 401ks, company match, $2,000 sign-on bonus, and up to $5,000 in relocation. That's a good deal. Yeah, it's a family-owned and operated company, 80-plus years of business in the Black Hills of Wyoming there. It's Spearfish Forest Products is a division of Neiman Enterprises. So this sounds like a great opportunity if anybody's looking to change careers or just change locations and get some help and benefits doing it. So your contact information is someone I know. Actually, it's John Fennelson, and he's actually from Maine, and he made the move out there to take charge of the mills there. He's the head of the HR out there, I guess. So, but anyways, it's John Fennelson, and his number is 307-760-7907, or you can email john.fennelson, and it's FENLASON at Neiman, NEIMAN.com. So if you got any questions, you want to talk to John about that, email him or give him a call.
Hi, everyone. Team member Mark Sheeran here. Listen, everybody's been asking why we switched to the Skinner peep sights this year. And there's a whole bunch of reasons. First of all, the owner of Skinner Sights, Andy Larson, was willing to collaborate with us to build the best ghost sight for tracking on the market. And he took our input and really put it into practice. And the aperture, the ghost ring itself is thinner, so it allows more light in. It's all steel construction. It's got a lifetime warranty, and it's also a very elegant sight. So there are some other features as well. The ghost sight itself is dovetailed into the body of the sight, which makes it really, really sturdy, and it can't fall out of adjustment. And between that and the fact that it's all steel, and the peep sight is optimized for the tracker and the still hunter, it's an amazing sight. So you can go on to bigwoodsbucks.com and get your BWB Tracker Series peep sight today. All right, good luck on the hunt.
So there's that so again. Did you hear that? So.
So anything.
So buttons in the bathtub.
We're going to make a drinking game out of this.
Yeah. So I've never used a dog in my entire life. And I've always been able to track deer, learn their habits that way and figure out where they're going to go, so on and so forth. So when I called the guy up, he asked me, he wanted, all the information on, where did you hit it? Where do you think, how far did you chase it and stuff like that. And I told him, I said, well, I've been at this game for a long time, so I didn't think I didn't get a super good hit, but I got a good enough hit that it's probably going to go a while. And it's probably going to be a deer that if I leave it, we're probably going to retrieve it the next day or possibly a 2-day thing or something like that.
All right.
So he said, well, what's your thoughts? What do you really think? I said, well, how long does it take for the dog to pick up that track? How much time do you need? He told me the longer the better. I said, okay. So I had shot that deer first thing in the morning.
What do you mean by the longer?
The longer that you wait, the better off it is. Okay, if you can get, one of the biggest things with the dogs is what he explained to me is that if you get closer to the nighttime, it's actually better when you're tracking the deer and you're more apt to see the deer, because when you're during the day, especially on another quality hit, that you're always pushing that deer. That deer could be 50 yards out in front of you. He's going to jump up.
Yeah, you don't want to jump him, right?
So what happens when you get closer to the nighttime, and of course those guys are registered with the state. They're the only ones that can carry a gun. They're the only ones who can dispatch the animal, so on and so forth. So he has a laser on his gun that he can actually dispatch the animal with.
So longer meaning better to go at night than day.
Better to go
obviously,
at night.
the longer you go, the scent's going to get.
No,
less.
the dogs can pick up. Yeah. It's amazing what they can pick up. They go a day, 2 days, 3 days, and pick up a scent. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, dogs got good nose.
Yep. So we opted to wait till, I said, well, let's wait till like 4 o'clock. Is 4 o'clock work? He goes, oh, yeah, absolutely. So at 4, so he met me there at 4 o'clock. We went out there, and the dog's name was Remy. It was a little black lab, like Hal's dog, little short lab, cute. And we brought it to the first location, and she's kind of going around in circles, and making her loop. And I asked him, "What's she doing?" He goes, "She's doing her paperwork." I said, "Oh, well, that's pretty cool." What she's doing is she's trying to pick that scent up. Of course, there's no blood, there's nothing to speak of. So after about 5-10 minutes after she did her paperwork, she immediately starts going off. So she had started following the deer, and of course, I knew kind of which way the deer had gone, because typically when you shoot a deer, they always go back to the place that they came from, because that's basically the safe zone. They've already passed through that area, so they go back that way. Yeah. So I had a general idea where to start, and we did start there. And she went off. And we followed that deer for quite a ways, got down to where I figured that she'd go, to the swamp, because they're going to want to go to a cool area, water, so on and so forth. We got to the swamp, and the deer actually swam across the river to the other side. Once we got down there, they saw the deer on the other side. It went over the top and went down the other side, and we had lost it then. So we actually had to cross the swamp. We went, belly high in water and mud and stuff like that. We got to the other side because we couldn't stop at that point. And that was just before dark. So we decided to wait and wait till dark. So we all sat down and we're talking, laughing and stuff like that. And he kind of gave me the scenario on why you wait. Well, the reason why that you wait till dark is the best option to get that deer is, first of all, you can use lights. And he has a green laser on his 40 millimeter pistol that if he can see the deer and you can see the eyes, he can actually dispatch that deer. Because a lot of times what you're doing is you're pushing that deer, and that's what we're doing. We're pushing it. And with not a quality hit, all you're going to do is just push those things and keep pushing them. Jeez, I got to have a drink here. Mike's hot lemonade. Hold on. Oh, boy.
Old guide Mike's hot lemonade.
Yeah.
I don't even drink.
I know. I was wondering about that myself.
We are at deer camp.
Yeah, we are at deer camp.
Yeah.
So we got at dark, and we got the lights out, and we had saw the deer take off. Then we stopped, waited, and we went around the corner. We probably went another 500 yards. Then we come around the corner, and the deer was hanging in the swamp. Come around the corner, flash the lights up, and there's the deer laying there on the other side of a hummock, just staying there. It wasn't going anywhere. At that point, it was kind of in tough shape. So
lost a lot of internal blood, or what?
Yeah. So he dispatched it, which was it was pretty cool. I was thankful for that. Well, in the state, he's the only guy that can dispatch the animal. He's the only guy that can, I can't even carry a weapon or anything because he has to actually call the state up. When the whole process starts, he calls up Fish and Game. He gives them the address. He gives them my license. He does everything by the book, and then he can start that whole process.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I just said it was such an amazing resource for hunters now that it's virtually it's just an amazing resource to have.
Yeah, I mean, you get your answers. You either get your deer or you find out you didn't have a good hit. So and they're pretty good at. Yeah, I worked with Suzanne Hamilton quite a few times, and she's really good as well. In fact, you and I talked about having one of them on a podcast, which I think is a great idea.
I think we should. Yeah.
The only negative that I see to the dog tracking is that there's a lot of people that rely on it, I think, a little bit too much now. So you lose the blood tracking skills that I think are important. If you're going to bow hunt or any kind of hunt, at least you've got to have those skills to be able to find a deer. Because, I mean, up until relatively recently, that was our only option.
Right, because that builds your own instinct.
Yeah, because you learn that
makes you a better hunter.
Yeah, you learn that it before you before the dogs. We learned where the deer went. If you shot a deer, you'd understand that you got to know their pattern, what they're going to do, where they're going to go. You look for the trails. They're going to go to water. They're going to do all that stuff. You do your grid searches. So I asked him about that. I asked him, "Do you find it guys more apt to call you quickly now and not take that time to search for the deer?" And he goes, "Yeah, absolutely." He goes, "I find guys are willing to call quicker than spend the time to look for the deer." In a lot of cases, he said that he's finding deer within 50 yards of where they were shot, and because everybody's relying on the dog now and not honing their skills.
Yeah, you see it all the time. It's like the first thing people do is they'll jump on. Does anyone know of a dog tracker near this area? Before they even try to find their deer. So, but
overall, it's just an amazing asset to be able to have.
Sure.
I mean, luckily New Hampshire has it, Maine has it, and I think Glenn, you were saying Vermont has it too.
Yeah, Vermont's.
Think about how many deer
for a while.
are recovered because of the dogs that never would have been found.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And you get the answers a lot of times because, with experience. So all these dog trackers have done this over and over and over. So they've seen every scenario and every type of hit, and
And that's what those dogs live for, though.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's amazing to see.
I mean, not only the dogs too, but the dog owners.
Right.
For them, hunting season for them is like what it is to us.
That's what I was really impressed with was the synergy between him and the dog, and his knowledge of the deer and his knowledge where that deer was going, what's going on. I thought that was impressive to me. It's you kind of get it now, and he worked right with the dog and. The dog was amazing because the dog, she was so low-keyed. There was not a lot of speed. She just took her time, didn't bark, didn't do anything, just kind of did her thing, did her homework. Then before you know it, you're on that deer.
Well, you think about how many, I forget, Suzanne had posted how many she'd gone after, but you see all those scenarios over and over and over, and what the deer
for her, it's
do
got to
and
be in the
everything.
hundreds probably every year
Yeah,
between deer and bear
and moose. In fact, I found out this year that she found a moose for us. It's been probably 6 or 8 years ago now, and that was her first moose recovery. And that was I'm sure I've told it on here before, that was a really cool story just because we had gone a long ways and weren't even sure if we were on the trail, because all you want is just one speck of blood or something just to confirm that the dog, because a lot of the dogs are so casual when they're trailing.
One of the things is depends on the age of the dog too and the experience of the dog, because a lot of times the more experienced the dog is, if they know it's not a mortally wounded deer, they don't want to follow it. They just lose interest in it because they can tell the difference from the scent of the deer. But a younger dog is going to want to keep, it's like potentially, it's like they either do want to follow it or they don't, because if they figured it out, they're going to lose interest in it. But the owner of the dog can make them continue to follow it. Like if they're like, all right, we just need to know if we need to go a little bit further, they can encourage that dog. But sometimes with the younger dog, they won't want to. But I mean, it's just the owners. I mean, what they have that relationship with the dog and how into it they are is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's the key, is the synergy between the dog and the handler. And that was the amazing thing that I saw, because he actually was working the dog. The dog would work. Then if she got kind of off the trail, then he knew enough what that dog was going to do to bring her back.
Yep.
And, okay, we got to come back here, with the leash and start that whole process over again. So, but he knew every scenario, which I was totally amazed about how much of the scenario that he knew, because he's been at it for so long, and how many different scenarios, different wounded deer, animals, so on and so forth.
I mean, if you think about it, the amount of experience they get in one season is more than a lifetime for any hunter.
Right.
Sure.
That's right.
Yeah. Just what an amazing just that was the highlight of my whole season right there. I just thought that was the cat's meow. It was amazing. I just thought that was better than anything that I've ever done in a long time, and I just want
to add, because we are in Massachusetts, it's like in Massachusetts, unfortunately, doesn't allow dogs. So, I mean, if anyone's listening that has a chance to potentially change that, if you live in Massachusetts, if you can talk to anyone in legislation to try to get something going.
Why wouldn't they allow that? I mean, you know how many deer that's recovered, that it just doesn't make any sense.
And I mean, the community too, I guess, is another thing that I should, also add, because I know I've talked to a lot of dog trackers in New Hampshire. They'll contact Suzanne. It's like, because she's such a great resource and she has so much experience in Maine. They share information, they communicate with each other, and they'll ask each other questions and run scenarios by, because I mean, sometimes it's like they want to recover that deer almost more than we do.
You feel that a lot of times, it's important to them. And I'll reach out to Suzanne, because I think you had mentioned that, Jeff.
Yeah,
that's a good idea to have her on. So we'll see if we can do that.
I was talking to Chris about it. As soon as we recovered the deer, that was at night. I said, Chris, we need to get either him on there and his,
or both of them would be fun
both
too.
of them.
Yeah, comparing stories.
And that was like when we were down at Huntstock too. Mike LaFleur, I mean, he's another one in New Hampshire that's awesome. And I mean, he was down there. He did the track with his young dog, 3 months old, with Freddie, and is already going out there. It's like doing amazing tracks. I think, I don't know how many they ended up doing this year, but I think it was maybe up to 50. And I mean, Freddie was doing phenomenal as a young dog.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, otherwise it's just coyote bait,
Yeah.
Right.
Might as well have
Yeah, you want to recover your animal,
recovery. Exactly.
I'm a big proponent of that.
So Glenn,
Yes, sir.
Glenjamin.
I feel like it's been a long time since we've hung out. I kept
know.
expecting you to show up at the lodge at some point. And
Boy, I wanted to, and I screwed up. I should have come over for muzzleloader season that first week, but I chose New Hampshire instead, thinking that it was going to be good conditions, and it just wasn't.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it wasn't great up by us either.
That does make me
Muzzleloader
feel
week.
better.
Yeah, it wasn't. The snow, the good snow was done. We got that rain, and it pretty much cooked it up there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, third and fourth week was the times up there really.
Yep. Yeah, the Thanksgiving week I was with my family at our camp in more of central New York, central western New York, and I had already tagged out, so I was doing a bit of scouting for everyone and trying to get them maybe corral deer a little bit for them. I saw 2 shooter bucks with no gun, so God. That was brutal. And then I get a text from you. I get a text from Chris. Here's Joe's deer. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Yeah. So, yeah, I was jealous that I wasn't in Maine at that time. We had a great time, and don't get me wrong, we had a great time in New York. But, yeah, I was jonesing to get on some tracks. That's why I'm so excited to get down here tonight.
Yeah.
And with this snow coming, I'm excited.
Jonesing?
Jonesing.
Yep.
Have you not heard that term?
Geez, I'm an old guy, I guess.
I think
That's
that's
an old term.
Yeah.
Is it Jonesing?
Glenn and I are both old guys too, Jeff.
Glenn's chomping at the bit.
Yeah, there you go.
You heard that one?
Guess I'm going to have to use that again. Jonesing.
So where'd you? So you got your buck in New York then?
I did, yeah.
Yep, okay.
Adirondacks, yeah. Big, heavy mountains. Boy, that was I don't know how else to describe it, but that was the worst drag I've ever had in my whole entire life.
Oh, really?
Oh, my God.
How far was that drive?
It was 4 miles.
Yeah, that's a long one.
The deer was 192, and it was bare ground. And it was, oh, my God. It was rough.
I forgot that now that you said that, I remembered the picture of that buck. That was a nice buck on bare ground. So you had gone out to, obviously way out if you were 4 miles out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The mountain that I was on, you go up 2 or 3 miles, and then it starts a plateau, and it's a series of humps and bogs, and it stays. Once you get up top, it's nice hunting, but there's not much until you get up top. So it's like a big strip of open hardwoods all along, walking all the way up to the top. So once I got to the top, then I really start to hunt, and I was in there maybe 1.5 miles or so, and I just came to an area that was just littered with tracks, and you guys remember how hot it was. Oh my God, it was brutal. I didn't know how to dress. We need to start talking to Chris to get some Big Woods T-shirts or something.
Oh, we got the
minus 33.
Let's not talk about apparel. No more
minus
apparel
33.
yet.
No apparel.
They didn't make great T-shirts.
Some shorts or something. God, that was brutal.
Yeah, it was.
But anyway, I found a spot where you could just tell that the deer were in there for 3 or 4 days, and they were just locked in there. And I just started going really, really slow and picking my way through, and I came to this little area that was I could see across this beaver flowage, and it looked like 2 points that came together, a little peninsula out there. And I remember thinking to myself, boy, this looks like Ontario, when I used to hunt in Ontario. I said, what would I do here? And I'd just sit there for, 5-10 minutes, see what happens. I no longer said that, and boom, right out in that peninsula, there's a doe standing there. I'm like, oh, geez, all right. And then, if you guys saw...
How far?
It was exactly 103 yards. I didn't have a rangefinder, but after I shot the deer, I did it from on OnX.
Yep.
Anyway, she stood there for 15 minutes, and she was just acting weird. And if you guys have seen the YouTube video, I explain it a bit. But anyway, 15 minutes goes, and I'm getting bored with this damn deer. It's not moving. It's, all of a sudden I hear some rustling behind me, and all of a sudden this little ermine comes up and starts bouncing around, and it was pretty cool. It took my mind off the deer. I'm like, just because of that, I'll just stay here for a little bit longer. And I looked up, took my binoculars up, and she flicks her tail and trots off. I'm like, wow, that seems weird. So I blew the grunt tube 3 times, and all of a sudden, oh. And this was from across that flowage, and crash. It sounded like a bulldozer coming through, and my heart's going, a mile a minute, and out pops this freaking moose. And you don't see moose up, at least I don't see moose up there normally. And geez, the hell am I going to do with a moose? Just sit there and watch it. So I filmed it, yeah. It didn't turn out very well. But anyway, the moose standing there, I put my phone back in my pocket, and I look back up. Holy shit, there's a deer out in that peninsula where that doe was. And I'm like, that's got horns for sure. Put up my binoculars, and he's got this huge rack. So I'm like, all right, well, I had already gotten a rest in case someone, something came out. And probably sounds stupid, but I practiced a couple times on the doe because I shoot.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think anyone does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
not stupid at all.
I shoot peep sights. So I'm like, that's pretty far.
That's a poke.
For a peep sight. So anyway, I got a good rest, and sure enough, that buck comes out, and he stands there and looks around, and I let him have it right there, and he jumped up once, jacked a shell, and all of a sudden he's gone. So anyway, I walk around there, and there he is, all piled up, and I instantly said, "Oh shit, this is going to be a drag."
It's a game on. Now.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought my Adirondack drag was bad of 2.5 miles.
Yeah. It was pretty rough.
And I had snow.
So what I get out of that story is I think about how many times we end up in a spot like that where you're like, oh, this is pretty. This is a place to see a deer, and you'll sit for a half hour, whatever, take a break, never see a deer.
Yep.
And the fact that it worked out like it did, that you look at that peninsula and a doe pops out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then the ermine.
Yeah, exactly.
And the moose.
And the moose, yeah. It was a
So you saw,
a frantic 15 minutes there for a sec.
yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, once I got it back to the trail, I was thinking, okay, it's all downhill and it's going to be totally fine and it'll slide really nice on these hardwood leaves. And
No.
Nope.
I've been down that road before.
There's no hair left on one side. I flipped it over. It went pretty good for about another mile. It skidded well, and then all the hair came off of that side. And
Did it ruin the cape? You didn't get the cape.
I didn't get the cape done. No, I just got the horns.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, that was the second one. I got a doe with my bow, and you guys are, professional bow hunters. I'm not even close. I bought a new bow this year, and I got a saddle a couple of years ago, and I used it once or twice. Anyway, over at our camp, it's big woods over there, and I had the week off. We were doing some fishing, and in the afternoons I'd bow hunt. Anyway, I hadn't shot a deer with my bow for probably 15, 18 years maybe. So I figured I'd give it a try.
Yeah.
Half-hearted anyway. Anyway, I found this one nice pinch point, and sure enough, two does came through, and you're talking about that form stuff.
Oh,
and,
yeah, it's so critical.
Yep. So,
especially out of a saddle. I mean, you get into different scenarios.
Yeah. So she got over where I had to sort of lean back on the tree and get around it, and she was about 15 yards, but I put it in quartering away, and I put it behind that last rib.
Yeah. Yep.
And it got a little further back, a little bit of the guts, and then it came out.
Yeah.
Right where you would want it to go in.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was in a whole bunch of berry bushes, and it's like almost dark. I get down out of my tree after about a half an hour, and all those berry bushes are turning red, and I'm like, is this blood? Is that not? So I couldn't tell, and I just went back to camp, and we went back in the morning and found her about 100 yards from where 100 yards from where the tree was. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
So first one in 15 or 18 years, I can't remember. I don't even remember how long ago it was, but yeah, the freezer's full.
Well, then, Glenn, I have a question for you. So I'm assuming that 4-mile drag was a personal record, right?
Distance and time.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
How long did it take you?
It took me 7 hours. Yeah, so it was.
Wow.
I shot it at noon, and I got it back to the truck at 6:55. So,
That's a day.
Yeah. Oh man, it was. It felt like I had been jackhammering for about 20 hours. My hands were just raw.
Oh, those are brutal. Those drags. I got a 215 pound.
Yep.
And me and my buddy dragged that thing, and bare ground.
Yeah.
I think that was like a 2.5-3 mile drag.
So that's what I was going to start to ask is, with that being your longest drag, I had my longest drag in the Adirondacks of 2.5 miles this year. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to ask you, what was everyone else's? What is your longest drag? You were saying, Jeff, that long?
Yeah, that's my longest drag.
Which is how long?
Mile.
About 2.5.
About a mile's the
3
longest,
miles,
yeah.
Wow.
And when we got it down
you've had it pretty lucky, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got it down off the mountain. And we're on a gravel road.
Yeah, I shot one back in, I don't know, in the early '90s, back in Jackman there, and he went clear over to King and Bartlett. And yeah, so that was 3 miles. It was just like 5 ridges.
Was there snow?
That's too. No snow.
Oh man.
That's too. Well, we did have snow when I shot it, but it warmed up and it melted. So that was 2.5 days to get him out.
Wow.
Yeah, we'd go in and we'd drag for like most of the day, and then just burnt right out. Go back the next day, drag some more, and
I would have just cut them up.
yeah, we probably should have just put pack frames on, but we didn't even have them back then. We didn't even have a pack frame.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about
Never
mine
thought
out
of it.
in the Adirondacks this year is because luckily Austin, he was hunting a few miles away. So after I got the buck, I just said, all right, let me text Austin. And I couldn't tell if the message went through. I said, let me just try calling him. Starts ringing. All of a sudden he picks up and he's like, yeah, he's like, you got one, didn't you? He's like, you can just tell. He's like, friggin' Neil. He's like, yeah. He's like, you need help. So I said, yeah, if you can come on over. So he huffed it out of the woods, and I was looking at OnX, and I'm like, well, all right, it's a couple miles to get out of the woods. But I said, well, I can get out to a hiking trail. It's probably, I don't know, to me it looked like a half mile, 3/4 mile, but it ended up being a little over a mile just to get to a hiking trail. And so I said, I'll meet you at the hiking trail. And he was going to drive his truck over and walk up in. And I figured that's probably another, a little over a mile. Well, I start walking out to the hiking trail, and I'm like, it's downhill, but you're hitting, trees that are down. You're hitting all kinds of different crap.
You look at it completely different when you're envisioning where you're going to be dragging your deer.
And I'm thinking, this isn't going to go too well, but I have a plastic sled back at my truck. But where he's parking to come up in on this other hiking trail isn't where my truck is. My truck's probably another couple miles down the road. So I'm like, all right, well, before he gets to that parking spot, I'm booking it off the mountain to get back down out so I can meet him so we can go get a plastic sled, because it's going to be a lot easier going down off with a plastic sled versus just hauling a buck by the horns, even with the two of us. So met up with him. He'd only gotten a couple hundred yards from his truck and grabbed the plastic sled, and then we hauled that back up in and loaded it up. And then, it still took us that I'd already dragged it almost a quarter mile before I left it. But then when we got back to the buck, it was, I think he on his OnX, he saw it was 2.3 from that point that we had to take it out with the sled. But it took a couple hours. That was even all downhill too.
I look at it today.
You took the words out of my mouth.
I'm a little older than you guys. I can get out there and I can huff it, but I get out there 4 or 5 miles, and I think to myself, damn, if I shoot something out here, I'm going to be in trouble, And I just look at that and I go, I got to be half brain dead to do that.
I usually say I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
Yep. That's what my dad always told me. He said, yeah, you worry about that when you actually kill one.
Exactly.
Yep. And then, to be honest, it's at that point, you're on cloud 9.
Yeah, exactly. Where else would you want to be?
Nowhere.
Dragging a nice buck?
Yeah.
It's always, with moose hunting, whenever we're going deep in the woods, you're always thinking, I'm always looking at how it's coming out and what kind of walk it's going to be. And I would never call someone off. Like if they're going to shoot the moose, we're going to shoot it and we're going to get it out no matter what. It might take a little bit longer, but yeah, when you do enough of them, you're always looking at, how's this one coming out today? I kind of had the same thoughts as Jeff, but it was because of the way I started. I was up top most of the day, so the good thing was it was pretty much downhill.
Yeah.
Anywhere you went.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm always looking on my OnX going, if I'm down in here 4 or 5 miles, 7 miles, where's the first trail? How am I going to get over there?
Yeah, but in that area, there's going to be something closer.
But if you're in the big woods.
Up north, it's different.
Yeah,
but there's
horrible.
Yeah, but
you can usually get to a road.
In Maine, there's roads all over the place.
That's
not in the Adirondacks.
No.
That was one thing that I learned pretty quick. But actually, when you said OnX again, Jeff, that reminded me of a story that I forgot to share from earlier today. That was, it was just really cool. One of the great features about OnX is because after that buck that I ended up missing him, obviously I want to stay right on the buck. He had a nice rack on him, but he's running, and I pull up OnX, and he's going right towards some fields, and there's houses, and there's a road there. And I'm thinking, oh shit, like this buck's going right across that road. I'm going to be able to look and see 5, 6 houses. And I don't want to be, with blaze orange, walking by all these houses, carrying a gun. I mean, with snow on the ground, you stick out like a sore thumb. And I said, that's just not the right thing to do. Trying to be, respectable. You want to respect all the landowners, and we're on state land, but now we're coming onto private land.
Yeah.
And so luckily with OnX, I was able to pull out and see who the landowner was. I just did a quick Google search, pulled up his phone number, gave it a call, and sure enough, the guy picks up. It says, it says he was like 73 years old, and the guy picks up, and I'm like, hey, are you so-and-so? And he's like, yep. And I said, well, again, I apologize in advance if this is an inconvenience for you, but I'm a hunter and I want to do the right thing and be responsible. I'm on your land right now, and I just jumped a nice buck, and I didn't tell him, that I shot at it, but I said, it went right across your field, and it's going across the road, and it's going by some other houses, but it's going to go back onto the state land. And instead of going way out around, I mean, it's going to take me probably half an hour, 40 minutes to hump all the way out around these big fields. I had said, do you mind if I stay on it and go across? I see you got some fences and stuff there. And he said he wasn't even in the state. He was out of state somewhere. And he said, no, you're all set. And, I mean, just that resource of OnX to be able to see who the landowner is. And, I mean, just, at that time to be able to think quick on my feet, too, to say, hey, let me see if I can find the phone number and call this guy.
Yeah, that was
up.
going above and beyond for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no way I was going to walk across the wide open fields and view all those houses.
Yeah. I probably would have not gone that far. I would have turned and, well, that one got away. But the fact that you wanted to stay after him, that's the right way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I would have walked all the way around and then picked up his track on the other side. But, I mean, at that point, you're talking, as I said, 30, 40 minutes to get it around.
I do like that track feature that I use that today, actually. And actually I used it for those deer that come around and hook back out, because I could see where I came from, and I knew that they were going to hook back up around. So what I did is I just backtracked. I set my first pin over there. So what I did is I hooked back up and came back around the top, because I wanted to, because I knew exactly where I was tracking through. But what I did do is I got to get one of those battery packs like you got.
Yeah, because that is one thing we were talking about last night.
Yeah.
With OnX, and when you use the track feature, it does drain your battery a lot quicker.
But I also got to ask you a question, because when I got all the way down in there, when I run into those moose down there, and I was kind of filming them and so on and so forth. And when I got into my track, I did something nefarious, and I deleted all my tracks.
Oh, you probably just hid your tracks. You probably didn't delete them. I can show you later on. But in OnX, there's a way to hide all your tracks or hide waypoints and stuff like that. So you probably just all thumbs and hit the wrong button.
That's a Polish thing.
But I mean, back to OnX. I mean, because that was another thing that Glenn said earlier too. About OnX, that because everyone asked, well, how far was the shot? And you were able to look at OnX and see where you were standing when you fired, and then when obviously you get to the deer. I mean, because of that buck that I shot in the Adirondacks this year, I couldn't quite figure out exactly where I was standing when I shot, because a couple times I hooked a little bit. So it was 110, maybe 120 yards. But then I know last year the buck that I shot in Maine, I was able to see it was 130 yards, exactly. And that's another cool feature about that track on OnX, because usually when you're walking, following a track all day, it's a pretty straight line. But when you finally, take a shot, sometimes you sidestep, you're reloading, especially with a muzzle loader. So you're going to see that little blip in the line. Then obviously when you get up to where your buck is, you're going to see tracks all over the place. So you can measure the line distance and figure it out and answer the question pretty accurately.
I'll tell you one thing that I do like on it, because I'm an archery hunter, is that wind app that probably a lot of guys don't know it's there.
Yeah, you were asking me last night if I use it. And
that is, I swear by it, because you can set your optimum wind direction. And if you got, for me, if I'm hunting a particular area, and I'll have 3 stands in that one little area, just so I know that if I have an east wind or a southeast wind, and I set my wind direction, I know that I can hunt that stand right there and that stand only on the optimum wind, and I won't touch the other 2 stands. I might have those stands within 200 yards, because sometimes you got to cut that corner just right. If those bucks are using a ridge top or a little swamp finger or something like that, you just got that little bit of window right there, and that's a good app. I like that. So that's just another option OnX has. But
so it would be easy to go on for longer, but I've got a
Yeah, you got to go home.
5-hour drive. Puts me home about midnight, 1 o'clock. But so how long you staying for? A couple more days, Neil?
Yeah, I think I'm going to probably leave Sunday morning because we got the Airbnb out here and tried to get a late season deer camp and rally all the team. But
You did good. I mean, getting
Amazing.
getting all of us together down here in short notice. You were
Yeah.
leading the charge, and I hadn't even planned on coming down, but I planned to stay longer. But
I'm sitting here looking at forecasts, and I'm seeing snow coming the beginning of the week, snow coming the end of the week, and I'm just like, hey, it's like we got to get everyone together. You
Yeah.
know? And
yeah, I'm glad I came down. It was a good day today. So
Yeah, I'm here till same Sunday morning.
Good.
I'll take off.
well,
What
I'm
about
sure
you?
you
What
guys
about
are
you,
going to get
Jeff?
into something.
I got to go back tomorrow. I got stuff at the college. Once they call me, I got to go.
And Rick, when are you staying out here till, you think?
Oh, tomorrow night.
there in
maybe the
Bartlett.
next day.
Sunday morning.
Yeah. See how my knee goes. My knee started bothering me today for the first time.
Now you get on a buck track
season.
tomorrow, it'll feel a lot
Yeah.
better.
I don't know. I was today and it wasn't. So I'm a little nervous. But I'm going to go buy a knee brace tonight. Yeah.
A couple of these will cure it.
Yeah.
Well,
It'll feel better tonight, but I don't know about in the morning when he gets on a track.
Yeah. That's what I'm worried about.
Especially with an extra 8 inches of snow on top of the 8 we got earlier in the week. There's probably what? It was probably 5, 6 today, probably. But yeah.
well, anyway, that was good. We lost Hal early on, but I'm sure he's all right.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Good luck on the trail.
It was really optimum tracking conditions today. It was
Yeah,
just
it was
perfect.
a nice day.
Yeah. Couldn't
And
get
like
any
what you
better.
were saying earlier, Neil, that wind, it was for me, it was calm at first, but all of a sudden it would come and would start cranking for a bit. And it was like, oh, this is good. Then it would die a little bit.
Not
then
to
it
rub
would come
salt in
back.
the wounds, though, Joe, but tomorrow it's going to be actively snowing all day. The winds
know.
up to 20-mile-an-hour
hear it.
winds. I mean, if you get on one, something's going to die tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have any wind down in that bottoms down where I was. Only towards the end of the day, but the other day when I first got down here, it was when I got up on that buck up there, it was perfect wind conditions. I mean, I was right behind those there. They had no idea I was even there watching them.
Well, I'll be looking for some text tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully we can get
All right.
something done. Yeah, and,
All right.
and and
Joe's
then
got to go. He's got to
Yep.
go.
Gotta go.
yeah, and then I
All right,
guess
so this is the last one before Christmas. So I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Appreciate all the support this year and this season. And
it's probably going to wrap up the season too, right?
yep, this is it. I think this is the
No.
last hurrah.
But no.
What? You
Well,
going somewhere?
Yeah, we can still hunt, right? We're going to Alabama. Me and Mark.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
you are.
awesome.
That's
The
next
muzzle
year.
loaders. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Big Woods.
And,
but-
and Rick probably never stops, does he?
Yeah, no, I'm actually headed to Nebraska the day after Christmas. Me and Nancy will headed out there on a mule deer.
You see how he
combo
calmed it down? He's
whitetail
like,
hunt.
yeah.
And then,
Whisper in my ear, Rick.
up there in Bartlett.
all right, I'll pick it up. We don't do golf, but anyway,
You don't
yeah.
golf?
So we're heading to Nebraska, and then I go straight to Iowa. I drew an Iowa muzzleloader tag, and I'll be in Iowa till the 6th of January. Then I'm flying straight to Arizona for a 10-day archery hunt, and that's it for me.
Damn.
Oh,
One mule deer.
that's it.
That's it.
That's all. That's
That'll be the 8th hunt of the season.
You gonna get any golfing in between that, or
If it wasn't for his
time
knee.
I played golf, the only one I'll tell you this story real quick. So the only one time I played golf, I was at the Maine Golf Academy in Belgrade, Maine, and Harold Alfon showed up, and I built the whole golf course there, and I never swung a golf club in my life. And Harold, he's like, Rick, you gotta try that. He goes, you gotta swing a golf club. And this, honest to God, I broke a 8-foot picture window with one.
We'll end it on
I
that
hit what I
note.
was aiming for.
All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. And as Hal would say,
Good luck,
good luck on the trail.
Hi, everyone. This is Big Woods Bucks team member Mark Sheeran. A lot of you know that I've been working with addicts and alcoholics now for the last 32 years. And one of the things that we just developed, which is very exciting, is the Freedom Model online program. And this program makes it so that you can learn the entire Freedom Model curriculum, all 470 pages of it, through pre-recorded video tutorials that myself and Michelle Dunbar, the other co-author of the Freedom Model, built for you. So you'll be able to learn the entire curriculum, how to get over an addiction without AA meetings, without rehab, without endless therapies, without recovery, and you can move on from this problem for good. If you want more information about this, go to online.thefreedommodel.org. That's online.thefreedommodel.org, or call 888-424-2626. And if you want that program for 50% off, use code BWB22. That's BWB22. So go to that address, hit the Enroll Now button, use that coupon code, and you'll have a program for the rest of your life. You can use it anytime you want. You'll get all updates. It's a one-time fee, and it's very affordable. And you'll get it for 50% off. BWB22. All right, everybody. Take care.
Hey guys, Joe here. Wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Lake Parlin Lodge. We're a four-season lodge located just south of Jackman. We've got cabins, lodge rooms, mini lodge. We're a big snowmobile destination in the winter, full restaurant, bar, all the amenities that you need for your trip. Open all obviously through the summer, right on the lake. Kayaks, canoes, all included with the cabin. We also do a lot of weddings, so if you're looking for a destination wedding, we can do a wedding up to 200 people. And of course, we've got our hunting season, moose season, deer season. So check us out. We're at lakeparlinlodge.com.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, good luck on the trail.